Okay. Preparing to live stream the webinar. Hang on a second here. And I gotta mute the webinar. Already muted. Okay, so I can make this go away. I can make this go. Oh, I'll just go to this. What the heck? All right, I think we are ready, folks.
So are we ready, Randy?
Yep.
All right, we're ready to start. I'm going to start as following. The agenda for the regular meeting, City Council of the City of Blue Island, Illinois, held remotely on Tuesday, March the 24th, 2020 at exactly 7:02 p.m. as permitted by Executive Order 2020-07, signed by Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker on March the 16th, 2020, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Randy, why don't you read the following, how to get on?
To participate remotely, download the Zoom app or call 312-626-6799. The City Council meeting and the webinar ID is 787-400-432. The password, if needed, is 248372. So we got the call to order. I don't know if we can.
Should we proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance, or do we skip that? I would do it.
You want to?
Let's do it.
All right.
And I'll start out. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
You got to see me in my jeans, so you weren't supposed to see that.
I got pajama pants on.
Yeah. Okay, Rita.
Here.
Here. Rita here. Donahue.
Here.
Donahue here. Holly.
Here.
Holly here. Farnwell.
Here.
Farnwell here. Hill. I'll get back to him. Mac.
Here.
Mac here. Carr.
Here.
Carr here. Cantelo-Zylman.
Here.
Cantelo-Zylman here. Slattery. Slattery absent. Clinker.
Here.
Clinker here. Johnson. Bex. Alexander.
Here.
Alexander here. Bellato.
Here.
Bellato here. Casidas.
Here.
Casidas here. Now let me pop over here to see if we got some attendees that I didn't get in. Johnson. Yeah, oh, there he is. Okay. Johnson.
Here.
Johnson here. Two. I had these numbers from last night, so I can, or from the other night. I don't hear or see Johnny Hill.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Was this on the last meeting a minute ago? There he is, Johnny Hill.
Here.
Okay. There he is. Okay, 13 present, Your Honor.
Thank you. Randy, could you read number 4, the public comment section? Because we're moving on to public comment. This is Mayor Vargas.
Yeah.
Also in attendance is Carrie Horvath. I'm the city attorney.
And, okay. All right, so
Also Mark Scarlato, Legislative Counsel.
okay. So public comment shall be by email only. Persons interested in making public comment must email their public comment to rhoiser@cityblueisland.org by March 24th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Email public comments received will be read during the public comment portion of the meeting by City Clerk Randy Hoiser. And I do have 4 people that had sent in.
Okay,
Right.
go ahead.
And I will read them in the time order that I got them in.
You can proceed. This is Mayor Vargas.
Carol Green, after implementing this recommendation, it should be left in place for the foreseeable future. Set up for resident and business call-in / email water meter reading system in line with online municipal water payments. Water department clerks can work and enter info data remotely. Benefit, Public Works can get the meter readers off the street and attending to priority Public Works tasks. Public Works can go out and read meters for the few disabled or elderly unable to read their own meters. Lastly, most disturbing was the emergency BI City Council meeting on Sunday, March 22nd, 2020, and their failure to communicate with neighborhood watch groups and their respective constituents, the emergency City Council meeting, along with information regarding their vote, along with what occurred within the BI Police Department. Our BI aldermen are expected to be our eyes and ears and must communicate in an effective, professional manner with Blue Islanders and the public at large. BI aldermen need to be reminded they ran for elected office and there are expectations. While there was finger pointing at the mayor, the majority of the Blue Island aldermen apparently forgot that they still had 4 of their own fingers pointing back at themselves. Margaret Camp. Over the last 2 days, I have seen what I can only describe as a total lack of leadership and clear display of irresponsibility by Mayor Domingo Vargas. 1, closed our police department and did not inform our city council. Required by law or not, communication is key in running our city. He failed and created a panic in our community that could have and should have been avoided. 2, held a press conference at the steps of City Hall today, clearly ignoring strict directives from medical professionals everywhere to practice social distancing for the purpose of parading people in front of a microphone to support his decision to close our police department. Mayor Vargas, you were supposed to be on a COVID-19 task force call at the time of your press conference. As most everyone knows, we have COVID-19 patients coming to Metro South to our city, and we have to be prepared. We have no room for error. We have no time for irresponsible and reckless behavior by our mayor. To all the city of council, I submit my request as a citizen of this city by way of this email to immediately remove Domingo Vargas as mayor of Blue Island, replacing him with a city council member better equipped and balanced to lead us through this very difficult time. We need a responsible leader. Please step up and do what's right for our city. I'd also like to thank all of our city council as well as our police chief and fire chief for convening the emergency meeting and getting our police department and officers up and running the next day. God bless you and keep you safe. Thank you. Also, Ron Bloom. These are indeed unprecedented times across our nation and testing the mettle of our city leadership's ability to take necessary measures to protect the health and well-being of our community, taking extraordinary leadership efforts to thwart this invisible enemy and for our city council to either work together or fall apart. Based on actionable information and recommendations from state and county health organizations, national and state health departments, quarantine mandates, and fueled by media hyper reporting of new cases of COVID every hour, Mayor Vargas, as a leader of our city, took decisive action in choosing to close the police department while securing alternate public safety for our community to ensure the health and welfare of its residents. Likely, this decision was not undertaken lightly, but was based on the best information available from the health experts in the state and county levels managing the COVID crisis. The result, ? State Representative Rita and Restore Party council members and others saw an opportunity to undermine the mayor's efforts and strip his powers while politically grandstanding on national TV, surrounded by news media from every channel with helicopters overhead, beaming an exceedingly poor image to Blue Island while the world was watching. Enough. These antics are not leadership and not what you're elected for. Stop the incessant political gamemanship and work together for the good of the beloved community, especially in these unsettling times. If you cannot or will not do so, step aside and let others lead. And now we have the specter of opening the shuttered hospital, which closed due to a debacle of state leadership costing our community $5 million to bring more cases of COVID to our community. Does the community have input? Who will manage that project? The same group that allowed it to close? The same Restore Party that promised to bring business to Blue Island? Fix our streets, repair the potholes, but eagerly pass the pot ordinance and sits idly by watching the degradation of our community infrastructure while concocting the next plot to unseat the mayor. This is not leadership and not what you were elected for. Enough. Work together. Our beloved community deserves better. And then Alan Stevo. An open letter to Fred Bellido and all Restore Blue and Party aldermen. Your continuing policy of practicing petty politics has caused chaos within the police department. What other police departments have been closed down from Chinese virus reason? The fact that Public Health and Safety Committee, which oversees the police and fire department, currently has no committee chairman since Alderman Slattery has not attended a meeting since June of 2019. This in and of itself has broke down communications in the leadership of the police and fire departments. A committee chairman would have prevented the closing of the police department. The city of Blue Island is a strong alderman, weak mayor form of government. Blue Island is not a manager form of government. Blue Island has always had the aldermen manage the police and fire departments. They do not appoint managers. They do their alderman duties for them. Voters voted for aldermen to manage the city, not a manager. It's time the aldermen step up and fill their oath of office. Very truly yours, Blue Island resident Alan Stevo. That's the end of public comment.
All right. I'm going to move on to number 5, report of city officials. Topic number 1, discussion concerning deployment of the city's workforce, including working at home or from remote location and compensation for municipal employees. And I'm going to ask our city attorney to make any comment regarding this, because I know he's been in discussions with our human resources person. City attorney?
Carrie?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry, I had it on mute. Members of the City Council, this is Kerry Horvath. The purpose for putting this item on the agenda for discussion this evening is because with the circumstances that are taking place, we thought it best to put out to you questions as to how you want the city to proceed concerning scheduling for its employees, when employees are still on the payroll but are not working, and in terms of the various departments, each department head and the clerk have submitted proposals. They're all different, but I will start with Public Works. Public Works has submitted a proposal breaking its department into 2 groups, each comprised of 9 or 10 employees. One group will work in week 1, the other group will work in week 2. This was designed by Director Polstero to avoid all members of the department working together and then possibly, because of an incident or occurrence, having to quarantine all or a large number of the group. That was his proposal. The golf course, Ted Ruthenberg indicated that right now there are only 2 full-time staff that are working. Those staff I believe is Ted himself, and then Vincent, off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember, Franchetti. All right, those 2 are working, and what they propose doing, the 4 part-time employees were sent home and told to stay home until further notice. The 2 full-time staff are cleaning and disinfecting the building to the best of their abilities. They're also working to inform golf leagues and outings. They're going to have to push back dates and times. And they said in case of a business or lockdown, the 2 full-time staff would be on call for emergencies. The rec center, if I understand it correctly, Mr. Jackson is the only full-time employee. He's engaged with his staff. I believe they're part-time staff. It did not indicate, but they're disinfecting the building, and they'll continue to organize files as well as make sure organizations that are requesting use of the gym are advised that at this time the center is closed, and they will work on scheduling. I don't know how much of a full-time staff he has, but he indicated that if the building is closed, he and his staff will be on call. I think we're going to have to get a little bit more information with respect to how much of a staff he maintains. I don't know off the top of my head. The building department has only 3 people, and that is Mr. Sandino, and then his assistant, Christina, and then the inspector, whose last name I do not know, his first name is Mark. They are all going to be in, I'm sorry. They will all be in Monday through Friday. They're going to try, and this is the entire full-time staff for the building department. They are going to try and keep the department running and operating on a regular basis daily. And then the clerk's office has made a combination of proposals, breaking their department into 2 different groups, one with 4 persons and one with 3. Randy can speak in greater detail if need be, but he has proposed either having what we'll call Group A work Mondays and Wednesdays, and Group B Tuesdays and Thursdays, or for them to rotate on a weekly basis, with Group A working Monday to Friday and then staying home, or Group B staying home and then reversing it the next week, or working on a similar schedule to the way the police work. The police presently work 12-hour shifts. They are fully staffed. Their shifts are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. every day. I believe they have 4 shifts. And if that's incorrect, the chief of police can correct me. And the firemen, they have 3 shifts. They each work 24 hours on and 24 hours off, and they work a minimum of 48 hours per week. And presently they have, if I'm not mistaken, 27 full-time, it may be 26, but I believe it's 27 full-time fire officer EMTs. And again, their shifts are already set and in place. So the point of this is to ask your guidance and input as to whether those plans that have been proposed would be acceptable, because there will be times when people are not working. They would be on call, but they are not actually working, but they will be getting paid. If at some point it's no longer fiscally responsible to do that, each union contract has provisions for layoffs. They're primarily last in, first out based on seniority. And the non-union persons would be subject to layoff per their departmental head. That's a long summary, but I wanted to give that all to you and then let you all discuss how you want to proceed or what you would like to see happen with respect to the work shift.
Council, so let me add, this is Mayor Vargas. So you know, we have the capability here on the second floor of my office to work remotely, as well as the finance department, HR department, and projects, which includes Marisol here too. We have the capability to work remotely.
Alderman Bellato, I just want to say I think the department heads and city clerk can manage their own departments and figure out a way that basically what you guys are doing, separating the staff that can work from home. As long as the city can run, there's ways to get a hold of people at the city staff. I think you guys know your departments better than any of us and can make those decisions. I agree, though. If they can work from home or they can be separated or split shifts, we should do it.
Thank you very much, Alderman. Thank you.
Alderman Donahue, I'm fine with everything. I just want to be clear to employees that they're still on call, and if they're receiving calls or emails, they need to be responsive to all that as well.
Thank you. They understand that, and that's our procedure, to be responsible.
Alderman Cazares here. Do we have a system in place to collect information, or what I'm looking for is to find the comfort level of those employees that are in fact still working on site but choose not to or feel uncomfortable working? I don't want to make anyone come in that is uncomfortable coming in as well. Is there something set up where we can anonymously collect that information? By we, I mean the supervisors.
Alderman, this is Gary Horvath. What I've informed the HR generalist to do at this point in time is if an individual communicates exactly what you've said, to first inform them that, and there is anonymity, but to inform them that initially they will have to utilize, until the new legislation that they've passed, that the Congress has passed takes place, they're going to have to utilize if their available benefit time, their sick leave, their personal leave, their vacation leave. There have been two significant amendments or two significant pieces of legislation that Congress has put in place dealing with family medical leave and an additional sick leave with respect to COVID-related issues. But that's as far as we've gone at this point in time, is to advise people if they do feel uncomfortable coming to work, that is the way they will have to proceed. They'll have to notify HR, and then HR will inform them of what they have to do. Okay?
Thank you, Kerry. One more thing.
We're open to suggestions there, Alderman. It's just that's as far as we've gotten with respect to that. Okay?
But I think that answers my question. One more thing. Sorry, Bill. One more thing. For those departments that are stating that they will be cleaning, disinfecting their spaces during this time off, for lack of better words, can we make sure that they document what chemicals they used, how much they used, when they cleaned it, and how they cleaned it? This way we can have information just in case it ever comes up, and for future occasions we know what type of and how much equipment will be needed in case this ever happens again, because this is something that
Alderman, that's a really good suggestion, and I'll make sure that HR communicates that to the department heads, because we just found out that that's what they're doing earlier today. They submitted this at about 4 o'clock this afternoon. It was all submitted to me. So, but that's a really good idea, and I'll convey that to HR tomorrow and make sure that they get that word to the department heads. Okay?
Thank you.
This is Mayor Vargas. So you're aware, we've already implemented that, and some of the department heads have already done that, and they're taking logs, they're taking information, data regarding that, and we will continue to request that information and to keep it updated for all of you aldermen and for the city.
I have a question.
This is Alderman Hill. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, this is Alderman Hill. I just wanted to know, is there any kind of form or anything that you have that when those employees come in, are they filling out? Because I know at the county, when we come into the county building, we have to fill out a form that states our name, our age, and they ask the question, do we have a cold, or have we had any cough, or have we traveled to China or any place in that sort? So is there anything set up in that way where they can keep a record of who's coming in and out of the building?
From my understanding, Alderman, HR has submitted it, but we'll double check with her.
Alderman Hill, are you suggesting a daily screening of employees?
In fact,
Well-
Alderman, I was going to get into that, and maybe we can ask the chiefs from here on, are they going to be monitoring or screening the employees to see how they're doing health-wise, et cetera? And we'll get into that within the next few minutes.
Thank you.
So I have a question. Are we going to revisit this at the next council meeting to see how everything's going then, working at home?
Sure. Yeah, we can do this.
Jim Clinker, or just a quick comment. Randy, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk to Jim Polster, but when I was out walking my dog today, I talked to him and he explained why he's doing the half and half, like he's doing it. One crew 1 week, one crew the next, instead of alternating days like you're possibly suggesting. I think his idea is to keep people together, because if someone's exposed and someone's sick on Monday, then Tuesday's crowd comes in and touches everything. So it might be a better idea to do it that way. I kind of agree with what Jim said.
When I don't know if I was going to check with my staff and see, but I was leaning more towards the 3 on 2 off, 2 on 3 off kind of thing. And there's different responsibilities and different knowledge base that people have in my office. I mean, we could possibly do a whole week at a time, I suppose, but I don't think this is going to go away anytime real soon.
Right. Once again, whatever you think is best. But when I spoke to Jim earlier today, it seemed like a real good idea. If it works for you, great. If not, I trust your judgment.
Well, and that's the thing. When the next crew was gonna come in the next day, when the other crew would leave, they'd have to wipe down everything and sanitize everything. So when the next crew come in, you wouldn't want to do that every day. You'd want to. I'm leaning towards the 2 and 3 and 3 and 2, but we'll see. We'll see.
Hi, this is Alderman Johnson. I worked in the hospital during the HIV and AIDS epidemic, and there are guidelines on how you clean things and what chemicals to use. I'm just suggesting, if we're talking about people cleaning, are they protecting themselves as they clean, and what procedures are they using?
And
hi, this is Alderman Hill, and what are they wearing exactly? Are they doing hazmat suits or masks as well as rubber gloves?
Alderman, all of the aldermen, I want you to understand, this is Kerry Horvath. We were informed of this earlier today, and we will find that out first thing in the morning. And those are points well taken, and I agree with you 100%. And so we will pursue that first thing in the morning, because, as I said, there are points very well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more comments regarding the discussion regarding deployment of city workforce?
Is it fair, this is Kerry Horvath, is it fair to say then that at this point in time, there's a general consensus that the procedures utilized or explained by myself concerning what the department heads are doing in terms of either splitting their workforce or allowing certain persons, if necessary, to work remotely, so long as there's a tracking of time, and with respect to anybody engaging in cleaning, that they inform of what type of materials they're using and what type of protective clothing they're wearing. At least initially, that will be acceptable, and at the next city council meeting, we can revisit this subject as need be. Is that a fair general statement of a consensus, or is there something that I missed?
Consensus here.
Yes. Alderman Bellato, I'd just like to add, as long as the city continues to run, I agree.
This is Alderman Carr. Hello? This is Alderman Carr, and I agree to that.
Randy, you want to do even though it's just a consensus, you want to do a roll call, so this way we got a record. Who said what?
It's kind of hard. We can't see everyone. So, okay. Rita.
This is just a discussion, I thought. Why are we voting?
Right. Well, no, it's just because of the format we're in. Because where everyone's chiming in. So this is a consensus. It's not a vote. This is a consensus. I'll go down the list of do you agree, Nancy?
Mark Scarlato, Legislative Council. I don't think that you can vote on this. There's
not a vote. It's Mark. I'm just I guess the suggestion was because there is normally if you're in front of us here, you raise your hand and it's a consensus. So if we were to get consensus by just like, I agree, or should maybe I agree, is that what would you like to say, Mark?
I agree. I think we'll be fine.
Okay. Do you agree, Nancy?
So HR in consultation with the city attorney and the department heads, I think that they should handle it. Is that what you're saying?
The question is, do you agree? So because this is expenditure of funds.
I'm sorry, HR in consultation with the city attorney should lead the department heads. That's what I agree to.
I think that that's fair.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so do you agree, Donahue?
Yeah, I agree with what Alderman Reader just said.
Do you agree, Holly?
Yes.
Do you agree, Farnwald?
Yes.
Do you agree, Hill?
Yes.
Do you agree, Mac?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, do you agree, Carr?
I agree.
Do you agree, Cantelo-Zylman?
Yes.
Do you agree, Clinker?
I agree.
Do you agree, Johnson?
Only to the staffing and the manpower, but not to the cleaning.
Right.
Because it's an airborne pathogen. It's not a bloodborne pathogen.
Okay. Do you agree, Alexander?
Yes.
Do you agree, Bellato?
Yes.
Do you agree, Costas?
I'm in agreement.
Okay.
One question. Wait, one question. How are we going to let the city know what's going on?
Chief
We'll let
Rita,
you know what? We'll let our fire chief and police chief give you updates regarding the status regarding, again, COVID-19 and any procedures here at City Hall and what they're doing.
Yeah, Dan, we can talk about that tomorrow morning, right?
Yes, certainly.
Okay.
Any other comments? If not, I'll move on to number 2, mayor's announcements. So we were in contact for some time, both police chief, fire chief, building, regarding a gentleman named Daniel McNulty. He is one of the new owners of the former Metro South. Chief, you want to give them just a brief outline as to what the discussion was about, Chief Rita?
Sure. So basically, obviously, we've all heard the news that people will be moving into Metro South. What we could gather, and there's been multiple calls all day to various individuals just trying to find out exactly what's happening. Right now, as it stands, when we finish the conversation at 4 o'clock, the individuals that will be housed there are patients that are presenting or have tested positive for the COVID, and upwards of possibly 200 or more people. This is going to be done as basically a public-private partnership with the new owner and the Chicago Department of Health. Some of the concerns that the group had, and specifically public safety, both myself and the police chief, were obviously the resources or the strain on our resources should this obviously take place, and the fact that we really haven't been kept in the loop of what's going on regarding that. So from the fire side of it, obviously we have a concern of if these patients are housed there, where they may, or if they obviously start getting sicker, does it fall on us then to transport them? What is their protocol? Some of the things of that nature that are going to obviously strain us and put us in a spot that is going to make us do things that again are going to add on to the stress of what's already going on. From the police standpoint, security, certainly, traffic control, should this be an issue as far as how this goes down. One of the other things that came up was the intake process. They weren't real clear as to how that's going to be going down. They basically, this gentleman said, it's the Chicago Department of Health has this all figured out, and they'll be handling that. So when we left it, again, it's not quite clear how this is going to play out. There is still some things on the city's end that has to be done. The building department, it has to issue temporary occupancy. Obviously, we have to go through there for the life safety aspect of it. And they're supposed to be getting us an operational plan for what they're going to be doing going forward. I don't know, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if Marisol received that late to say. I know he said he was going to try and get it to her. I
No,
don't know if
he has
did.
not as of yet, but we'll double check it right now as we're going through the meeting if he sent it.
Okay. So that's where we left it. Those are some of the concerns, again, from the public safety standpoint, as we left it. You know, again, I don't know if anybody else on the council has any information or any knowledge of what's going on regarding that, but that's what we knew as of 4 o'clock this afternoon regarding this gentleman.
All right.
Again, there's some concerns, certainly, obviously, on all of our parts for what's going on.
All right. Chief, since I still have you there, you want to give the city, I know Alderman Casares had brought up this issue. Are we going to be monitoring any of the employees that are coming up as to their status, as to their medical status, whether they have any conditions from here on?
Who's that?
Or taking their temperature?
For the city, you're asking?
Yeah, for the city employees, correct.
We've already been doing it for over a week. Well, I think actually almost 2 weeks. We've been doing it internally at the fire department.
Okay, how about the rest of how about the other departments?
Again, we can, but the idea is to limit the exposures. I mean, if we can certainly do it, but you know, again, the thought is that if depending on how this goes or what the department heads do for as far as the working from home and whatnot, that could be part of the plan, certainly. I mean, if you want us to check everybody, but that's gonna, again, if we're tied up on calls and stuff, I mean, we gotta keep that in consideration as well.
Just so that we have some kind of knowledge regarding that. Other things, you want to give any update as to your meetings regarding COVID-19, what you've had, I think, within the last 2 or 3 days, as to where we're going regarding that, supplies, logistics, transportation, and stuff like that?
Sure. Again, you guys, I will try and get the update. Yesterday, I was able to get it out to Alderman Clinker relatively quickly. I don't know, Jim, if you shared that with the rest of the group yet, but today I did not get that opportunity to get it out because it's been a series of conference calls, one right after the other. So the last 2 days we have met collectively. Randy, Howard, Chief Arzab, and myself have gone over some of what we're going to be planning on doing, some of what we have in place currently. The focus is obviously securing our resources and making sure that we have everything available and identifying where we may be deficient. So I know that, again, initially it's just trying to get everything lined up and make sure that we're being able to function on a day-to-day basis. And then again, obviously keeping you informed and the public informed of the things that we're doing. So some of the things that we've identified that we'll start working on, and Sarah Brown's been involved as well. So some of the things that we're looking to do is obviously get the word out to the seniors in the community, because that's going to be the affected, or that group is going to be affected probably the most, or could potentially be affected the most. We're working on different initiatives to make sure that, again, resilient as a community, and that we have the ability to respond to the calls that are going to be presenting themselves. And truthfully, right now is just, again, like I said, stabilizing everything as it is, and getting a plan going forward. And that's going to, require a lot of obviously manpower and time to do. It's not going to happen overnight. But again, I think collectively with everybody that we're putting together, I think that this is obviously attainable, and continue to do what we can do and keep you guys informed as best we can.
All right, thank you, Chief. So the other Alderman
Mayor, can I say something?
We've been working with Sarah, with Browntown Communications. They will continue updating our website, working with Ben on Channel 4, putting that information out there regarding the most latest updates regarding COVID-19. We've been looking into, we're asking the chief if we can even reach out to the forum and maybe putting something out in a newsletter on our water bill or something, or even the 911 regarding any updates.
Alderman Bellato here.
Alderman.
I just want to make it clear, we all were in consensus the other night. In these times of uncharted times, all the communication I wanted coming from the fire chief. That's kind of what we did the other night. So the community at large doesn't get two different versions of the same communication and two different roads to go down. And I think
That's
tonight so
why-
far, just from the memorandum earlier and his information the chief put out and the update tonight, I think he's doing a good job and his committee that he's put together. And I want to continue just having everything going through this crisis with coronavirus going through the fire department chief in conjunction with the police chief. So we're getting one
All right.
piece of communication.
I have a question.
This is Alderman Nancy.
Go ahead.
I just, Alderman Nancy Rita, that the alderman would like to know before, if that would be okay. Thank you.
Can I jump in here real quick, Jim Clinker? Just to tell you so Chief Dan referred to something he emailed me yesterday on their first conference meeting, and it basically is what he just told you. I did not forward that to the other alderman chief because I wasn't quite sure, and I need Carrie, maybe you can give me advice on this. I mean, if he sends me information, can I just forward it to the other alderman? Is that legit?
We got to see if it doesn't violate the Open Meetings Act.
Just in terms of providing information, an informational bulletin.
No conversation, just, right.
Alderman Bellato here, just to clarify, I'm sure the both attorneys on the line here, putting out information in a one-way direction is not violating anything.
As long as you just send it out,
That's all I wanted to know.
don't hit,
As long as there's no
you don't want to hit the
disclosing-
reply for all button, and you don't want to get engaged in a conversation with other members of the city council about the information that has been sent. It's being sent for informational purposes. As long as it just comes in that fashion and it's coming with respect to this, you should be okay. If
So
you
the
get
idea
engaged in
behind-
the back
Okay,
and
so-
forth, then you're gonna
The idea
run
behind
into
the
trouble. with the
prohibition-
open meeting.
The idea behind the Open Meetings Act prohibition is that you don't confer on information in a non-public venue. So that's why you don't hit the reply all. That's why you don't discuss the evidence that's presented.
Right, this is.
Okay, so
Would you guys like it if I
can I
sent
just
it?
finish one?
Sure. Sorry, go ahead, Alderman.
That's okay. Just one more point was, and I'm thinking I'm going to forget what I was going to say. So I talked to Chief Dan yesterday, and he's kind of forwarding information to me, and I volunteered to do that for him. You know, I mean, I'm sure he's going to do his best to keep us all informed, but he's a pretty busy guy. So if I get information, I can just forward those emails off to everyone else, and we'll leave it at that. No replies, no nothing. Just I'll let you know what I get from him. Okay.
I have a question.
Alderman,
This is Alderman
this is
Zylman.
Kerry. Alderman, if you just have, so let me speak for just 1 minute. Alderman, if you have any question as to what you should do with it, just call and or send me an email and we'll get back to you immediately, okay?
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Could Chief Dan send a message out through the phone system like they do for the fireworks? We got like 3 or 4 phone blasts about the fireworks. Could he send something out once a week, maybe, to the community?
We're working on that, Chief Arzabanet. That's part of the committee. We're actually going to be doing we're going to go on Channel 4 tomorrow and do, I don't know if we're going to do it weekly or bi-weekly, but we're going to do basically a question and answer. So obviously some of the concerns of the residents or yourselves, if you want to present it, I think Sarah set that up. And we'll go on, we'll give it kind of a brief synopsis of what we're talking about like we're doing tonight. And then we'll go a step further and obviously take questions from the community and try and answer some of that and ease some of their concerns. But yeah, we're gonna, and we could certainly, that's one of the components of what we were talking about is reaching out is through Rave. And then actually putting a flyer out potentially to the citizens that may not be linked to that and may not be watching TV or may not have access to anything else via the new means of communication.
Yeah, even the phone blast, that's a good idea because some people don't, those older people don't have internet or that.
Right.
Chief Rita, can you, in the next couple of days in your findings, can you provide some reassurance to myself and everyone else that's, has an ear on the subject? Can you provide some reassurance that the situation there at the old Metro South Hospital will have adequate security both in and out? That way we can, assure our residents that coronavirus positive victims are not going to be endangering the public safety.
But certainly, Alderman
Was that
Cazares,
Alderman Mack speaking?
This is Cazares. This is Alderman Cazares.
Okay.
and one of those things, and just because when we ended this conversation, we weren't real comfortable with accepting it. And again, I don't know how far. I mean, that will be on the building department and obviously the fire department as a whole to wait and see what they present, because again, we're not real comfortable with that granting this occupancy based on what we heard this afternoon. So that being said, I mean, if they're, you know, if the state, the feds, somebody else comes in and says this is what's happening, it's a whole different ballgame. But if this is a public-private partnership, and I think one of the questions, and Mr. Mayor, you actually, I think, brought this up at some point, but you know, there's the city of Chicago telling the city of Blue Island how it's going to be done. I don't know that that's real kosher with a lot of us at this point. But again, obviously, we have concerns. We voiced them. They're supposed to be presenting the information that we're asking for, and there's nothing definitive that says, I mean, they're thinking they're moving in Thursday, but I mean, without the permits and the occupancy, I don't know that that's happening on Thursday.
Chief Rita, could I ask about that question of Thursday? I've heard that date. Is that like just they would start occupying, or are they planning to actually start operations on Thursday?
That was when they would start occupying it, and from what they're telling us, that would be operational from then on. Now, I find that hard to believe that they're able to do it that quickly. And certainly, you know, there's a lot of, like I said, just mentioned concerns that we're having both from the building department and the fire department as a whole. So, you know, again, I don't know how in depth this is going to get. Hopefully they can provide for us the information we're asking, and we can do something, because certainly, you know, we want to be favorable and we want to be good neighbors, but on the same token, it's strictly, it is, especially with everything that's going on, a life safety issue for all of us. And again, that we want to try and limit that and make sure that they're doing what they're doing. So to Alderman Cazares's question, yes, we're going to be the pulse is definitely there. We want to know what's going on, and we want to get answers as far as what they're going to be doing.
So all the aldermen, again, this is Mayor Vargas. I reached out this morning to Mayor Lightfoot, have not heard a response. We spoke directly to her receptionist, who was working from home, that we needed to talk as soon as possible to find out what their plan was. And the other thing that we discussed with Daniel McNulty is that what interest are they giving to Blue Island residents? Is their priority to that? And we would insist, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't sign off on any permits unless we have a guarantee that we got first dibs on anything in that hospital.
This is Kerry Horvath. It is no longer an operating hospital. So this is more like a temporary housing facility. So the building department does, unless we're told otherwise by an authority higher than the city of Chicago, because they're just a municipality like we are, that we are being dictated terms. I think we have a right to see an operational plan, documentation to address the number of concerns that the chief has expressed, and include input that we have for things such as the priority the mayor just expressed. And so this is no longer a medical facility that's operating under an existing license. It is a temporary housing facility. And so, our codes and our departments do have the right to insist that they act just like anyone else that would act coming into the city to utilize this facility.
That is, of course, unless that the order comes from the governor.
I just said that if it comes from a higher authority than the city of Chicago, that's a different situation. But if it's just the city of Chicago, that does not trump the city of Blue Island at this point in time.
Agreed, but be prepared that if the order's coming, as Corey said, from the governor, then that's going to trump a lot of our processes.
So, hey, Alderman Downey, I just want to throw in that coronavirus, COVID-19 doesn't care about borders, doesn't care about race, doesn't care about ethnicity. We need to be compassionate and caring. And if we have this hospital facility with beds, we need to have this open. Look at what's going on in Italy. Look what's going on in the rest of the country. There's not enough supplies, and we have this facility. So shame on everyone for saying that we're not concerned, or we're concerned about all this other stuff. There's a public health emergency going on right now, and we need to all do our part. So shame on you.
This is Alderman Johnson. I got a statement or a question really for Chief Rita. Chief Rita, in what capacity are you able to use ESDA You know, they're asking you to do a whole lot of things. Next, you'll have a snow shovel in your hand as well. So I'm asking, you know, is ESDA in any capacity could help you with anything?
Well, I was going to ask one of the questions this evening is what is at my disposal regarding that? I mean, they've been disbanded, correct? So what do I have available to me? Because that's one of the things, again, as we build this out, we're going to need resources. And I mean, I have a thought on what I would like to do with that, but early on right here, right now, what is available to me? I mean, if they were disbanded, they're no longer available to me, correct?
That's why I had the questions that I had, Chief Reader, because they have been volunteering and using their own resources and finances over the years. And they have vehicles and have equipment that could very well help you so you can be more of an asset to us.
This is all, Rita, I thought it was only the Blue Island division. I mean, that they are in other cities, et cetera, correct?
Correct. So, I mean, and again.
Because they were giving orders to you. That's what I.
Alderman Bellato here. I think we're way off topic, at least what we started off. I mean, I'm trying to think of what we even started talking about, but we can go back to
we were talking about how could ESDA or Blue Island's portion help Chief Reader. That was my conversation. And if they're not able to help, then hell, let's just say they're not able to help us. But that was my first question.
This is Alderman Carr. I'd just like to say that this discussion is not on the agenda for tonight, and this is probably a discussion for the Public Health and Safety meeting.
Let's move on. City Clerk, any business?
No.
Chief, I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm not finished talking.
All right, go ahead, Alderman, go ahead.
Whether it's for this meeting or not, was just a simple question asking what capacity it could help the police chief in. I mean, the fire chief in. Second of all, if we wasn't throwing blows at each other, the other cities wouldn't feel like they could come over here and run whatever we do and say anything to our people. We need to be a connection. Just like Donahue said, this is a crisis right now. All that mess, keep it to the side. We're trying to come up with solutions. This is new to all of us, but I was part of the HIV and AIDS epidemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. City Clerk, any business?
No business.
City Treasurer, is he here?
No business. No, he's not.
City Attorney, any business?
No business, Mayor.
Any comments?
Wait. Got to go to committee reports.
All right, committee reports. Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. First up, I have a motion for approval of the accounts payable for March 25th, 2020. It's in the amount of $572,364.26.
You got a motion? Who's the second?
Alderman Bellato will second.
All right. Roll call, please. Or any questions? If not, roll call.
Rita.
Aye.
Rita, aye. Donahue.
Aye.
Donahue, aye. Holly.
Aye.
Holly, aye. Farnwell.
Aye.
Farnwell, aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hill, aye. Mack. Aye. Mack, aye. Carr.
Aye.
Carr, aye. Cantelo-Zylman.
Aye.
Cantelo-Zylman, aye. Clinker.
Aye.
Clinker, aye. Johnson.
No.
Johnson, no. Alexander.
Aye.
Alexander, aye. Bellato.
Aye.
Bellato, aye. Costas.
Aye.
Costas, aye. 12 ayes and 1 no, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Next.
All right, thanks, Alderman Donahue again. I have a motion for approval for the payroll for March 6, 2020 for $358,391.57. I'd like to make
You got a motion. Do we have a second?
Alderman Carr, I second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Rita.
Aye.
Rita, aye. Donahue.
Aye.
Donahue, aye. Holly.
Aye.
Holly, aye. Farnwell.
Aye.
Farnwell, aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hill, aye. Mack. Aye. Mack, aye. Carr.
Aye.
Carr, aye. Cantelo-Zylman.
Aye.
Cantelo-Zylman, aye. Clinker.
Aye.
Clinker, aye. Johnson.
No.
Johnson, no. Alexander.
Aye.
Alexander, aye. Bellato.
Aye.
Bellato, aye. Costas.
Aye.
Costas, aye. 12 ayes and 1 no, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything?
Yeah, one more item, Your Honors, Alderman Donahue again. Ordinance number 2020-014, the annual appropriation ordinance to the City of Blue Island, Cook County, Illinois, for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, ending December 31st, 2020. Just wanted to make a couple brief comments. It's a truly balanced budget. The city expects to take in $31,822,578. We expect to expend $331,822,578. To break that down, I know you guys have the breakdowns, but GRF revenue, we're expecting to take in $15,614,685. Spending $15,614,685. Just a couple highlights. Street resurfacing, we increased the budget in the street resurfacing by $341,000 over 2019. No decisions on streets have been made yet. That'll go to the Municipal Services Committee and then the Finance Committee like last year. There'll be input from all the aldermen. All the non-union employees who worked for the city all of 2019 will be getting a 3% raise. And we moved all our contingency money into the settlement payments. And the way to move any money in this appropriation in the ordinance will require a 2/3 vote by the city council. So I'd be happy to make a motion for approval and happy to answer any questions that members of the council do have.
Alderman Bellato, I'll second.
Hi, this is Alderman Nancy Rita. So I have a couple questions.
Sure, go ahead, Alderman Rita.
All right, my question is for Dave Myers. Is he on the line?
No, he's not.
It's regarding revenues. The revenues are an estimate. So in light of this current economic crisis due to Corona, has the revenue projection for this appropriation been adjusted for the lower revenues?
Alderman, I don't believe so. This was voted on at the March 9th Finance Committee, which seems like years ago. But no, the revenue projections have not been reevaluated since then. So no.
Okay, and then also I had a couple more questions, if it's okay. Using the current pandemic crisis as an example, did we appropriate money specifically for the safety equipment, for example, like masks, hand sanitizer, gloves, things of that nature for the police and fire?
So they have money in there, and I was going to suggest we take the money that was in the former BIEMA budget, which wasn't much. It was about $20,000, and put that towards supplies for our first responders. It was going to be my only suggested amendment was moving about $20,000 from the BIEMA budget to buy supplies for exactly what you're suggesting, to buy gloves, hand sanitizer, wipes, various other things.
Alderman, did you make any other changes from the one that was sent out as a packet initially to this
No,
budget?
like I said, I've not made any changes to it. And I was just going to suggest during discussion, my only change would be that BIEMA change, because again, this was all done and finalized March 9th, and we had to let it sit and cure for 10 days. So no, to answer your question, Alderman Rita, no, but that was something I thought we could help with that.
Okay, because Alderman Nancy Rita again, because under the fire department, it's line item 6040. I think it's operating supplies. It said $35,000 for the fire department, but the police department only had $4,000. So I was wondering, is that where we would put that, or because I didn't notice an actual line item for safety equipment? Would it go in there?
Alderman, could you say what page you're on?
I don't
can
actually have, I couldn't, my printer.
Mayor, she's on page 13. It's account number 420, Fire Department.
Thank you very much, Alderman. Thank you.
And the line number is 6040, and it's $35,000 for the fire department, but under the police department section, their line item 6040, which is operating supplies, was only $4,000. That's why I was wondering.
I address that real quick?
Who's that?
Is Chief Rita, sorry, Alderman Rita. That's the reason that number was what it was, if you guys remember, that was for EMS supplies, that took into account one replacement monitor that we had to upgrade. So that's why that number was so high there. The other, I mean, I had asked if we could change that to EMS supplies. Some of the stuff that we're talking about can be obviously sprinkled through different line items in our budget, or if, again, it is just a suggestion, I guess I'm asking Alderman Donahue, if you wanted to leave it in BIEMA and we can pull it out of there. But also keep in mind, and I know Topeka's working on and keeping a spreadsheet, we do get reimbursed anything related to this obviously situation. We should be getting reimbursed, which Howard and I are working on, and Topeka's keeping the running total. So we're hopefully going to be reimbursed from FEMA regarding all of this. And some of these supplies also we're also getting from Cook County Department of Homeland Security. We've taken a delivery of the masks that we need. We also have had donations of safety glasses. So we're starting to build a cachet to try and limit the cost, and then actually go through different venues and mainly the federal government to get reimbursed for some of this stuff. So again, obviously you guys decide where you want it to go, but those are just some of the things that's going on.
And you're talking about in general, Alderman Rita again, I apologize. And you're talking about in general for both, not regarding this line item number 6040 for the 35,000 for fire department and for the operating supplies, and the police department having 4,000. You're talking about in general, right?
Yeah, if you want to set money aside solely for this purchase, I mean, if you want to create another line item, if you want to leave it in BIEMA to be able to pull it out of there. Again,
Alderman Bellato, I'd like to make a suggestion. I think Alderman Johnson was kind of down this path in the previous comment, and Alderman Donahue. Can't we just transfer BIEMA's funds, the 20-some $1,000, and give 60-40, 60 to the fire department budget, 40 to the police department budget, and they can use as they see fit?
Mark
Alderman Donahue, there's $17,800 in the BIEMA budget. 12,000 of that was for the salary of the former, I guess, coordinator, but there's no longer that position exists because the department doesn't exist anymore. So again, that was gonna be my suggestion, moving that money into police and fire for.
This is Kerry Horvath. What page is the BIEMA budget on?
Gary, it's Kevin here. It's page 15 of 34, and it's account number 423.
Page 16, Kevin?
Page 15.
Okay, because to simply change the heading to emergency services, you don't have to call it BIEMA. You can call it whatever you really want, as long as you appropriate it. And then if you need to move some of the expenses into some of the categories that are zero for purposes of this ordinance, as long as you're all on board that this money would be used to address
safety equipment,
the safety equipment and services required, you can really call it what you want to call it. I think you have, I don't know what the various items are for. What says meals, contractual services. Is that the one we're talking about? Emergency management? Yes.
Yeah, so Gary, it's Kevin again. The contractual services was March Banks' salary. The meals were whatever they were purchasing meals, and then we put the 5,000 in there because all of the fleet of vehicles that were just kind of breaking down in the city parking lot on Vermont Street, hoping he would fix up some of that stuff.
You could change it to emergency supplies for emergencies, and just
safety equipment.
Put the money into one.
At this point, it's so easy to make this correction. Why not just put it where you want it to be? If you want it to be in the police safety equipment, put it there, and then it'll be definitely appropriated for its purpose.
So, Alderman Farnwell, got a question?
I have a question. This is coming from the mayor's office. Let me introduce Marisol Barrera, and she's going to tell you some savings that we can cut from the mayor's office. Go ahead, Marisol.
Hold on. Can we do this here really quick? Because we're already, I think, so we're not going all off track.
Yeah, there's discussion pending between the aldermen right now. It's not appropriate for a statement from Marisol.
Okay. There was a suggestion to try to do additional savings cuts in my office.
And Mayor, I appreciate that, and I'd be happy to come back to that. I just don't want us to lose track since we're already on this one line item.
That's fine. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So Alderman Farnwell, I've got a question. I guess is Chief Rabs here?
Yes, that was going to be my question to Alderman Farnwell.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if she's here.
Yes, I am. Chief Arzab here.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, it sounds as though we're going to apparently just leave BIEMA, that they won't exist anymore. And I know that they've, served some useful purposes and at other, various events and so forth. And are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, you are correct to that, Chief Arzab here again. Yes, they did provide some necessary services to the police department and fire department. The Chief Rita and I will be communicating together, trying to find other avenues if that is not available to us anymore.
So,
I thought
wow. I know they were
Really?
they were all volunteers. We only, if you look at their
At
appropriation.
this point, I should interject that is not really relevant to what we're discussing tonight. That's already been decided. That department no longer exists. We should stick to the appropriations ordinance.
Hold on, Mark. It's Alderman Donahue. I just want to clarify that last year, even in that appropriation, we were only paying one employee. The rest were all volunteers.
I understand, but the costs were relatively small, and I understand some of the concerns, but I agreed to vote for the change at Sunday's meeting because we just needed to get through. But I was thinking that we were going to revisit this subject and determine whether or not we wanted to keep BIEMA in some form. And, this is our appropriation that we're looking at right now.
All right. Alderman Bellato, I think this would make us all happy. We just move everything into the line item under emergency management to supplies. And then it could be used for any supplies under emergency management.
for safety equipment such as.
Still there then, and the account is still there.
And we trust the chiefs to do the right job, and say we get this money reimbursed, it comes back into this account, and when we revisit the BIEMA situation, they'll have their money here and we could go off of that. And we trust the chiefs to do the right thing.
That's fine.
Is that acceptable, Bill? The money is going to come back if it's all reimbursable.
All right, that's fine. I just wanted to be clear that I wanted to make sure that I wanted input from the chiefs, and if whatever they feel is right, I would also agree with, but I just want to make sure that they have the latitude and the flexibility.
Yes,
Was that Alderman Farnwell speaking?
Yes, it is.
You should identify yourself, Alderman.
Yes, all right, thank you. I will.
So just for my notes, I know what to tell Dave Myers to change. We're going to keep 423, and we're going to create a line item in it that's for emergency supplies. And all the money that's currently in there is going to get moved into emergency supplies. Are we all in agreement?
This is Alderman Nancy Rita. It would be safety equipment, Alderman Donahue.
Thank you, Alderman Rita. It will be moved into the line item safety equipment. Are we all in agreement?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Okay. So my next question was, this is Alderman Nancy Rita, is there, so we have to make cuts and we need money for, could you please point out could you please point out where that money is for our constituents?
Alderman Rita, can you repeat your question? I didn't hear you. I was writing my notes down.
I'm sorry. So we have to make cuts and we need money for streets. Could you please point out where in this appropriation the money is for our constituents for fixing streets.
Where this money is in for streets, sure. So if you go to the Public Works page, I gotta scroll to it. So Public Works, it's account number 430. It's page 17 and 18 in the document that was provided to us. And it's gonna be line 7330, street resurfacing. And the money in there for fiscal year 20 is $554,021.00. Again, that's I got to go back to my notes. That's an increase of about $300,000 from $341,000 from 2019. And again, there'll be buy-in from all the aldermen on what streets are done. In 2019, we did the 2 streets in the 7th Ward. Hopefully we could do some more in the city, but again, there's no decisions on any streets have been made. We'll have buy-in from everybody at a later date.
Okay, this is Alderman Nancy Reed again. And then, of course, again, under the fire department, under Department 420, for line 5300, I noticed that there was a significant amount of overtime. Have you put anything in place to oversee this?
Sure, thank you, Alderman. So on the fire department budget, it's account 420, it's page 13. The overtime, just for everyone, it was $147,354 in 2019. This year we appropriated $85,000. With a caveat though, we can move the money with a 2/3 vote of the city council. The fire chief is providing, and he has been providing, a very detailed report to Alderman Clinker and the Public Health and Safety Committee, and he was going to provide that to the Finance Committee as well. So we just have an idea where they're at. So if we're getting close, we'll have an idea of, hey, we had this emergency, this is what happened, this is why we're getting close to going over, and we can then vote the full city council to move money from a different line item to cover that overtime if it's getting over. So yes, we did lower it, but it's just so we could have a better idea of what the overtime is being spent on. It's not to punish them. We'll probably definitely go over that, but it's again, just so we could see where the money's going and what's happening. So the money, I'm sure will go up, and we'll probably have to move line items there. But again, the chief's providing a detailed report, and we'll have a better idea of what's going on with the overtime situation in the fire department.
Okay, thanks.
Alderman Bellato here. Chairman Donahue from the Finance, I just want to reiterate, you did a good job opening up. We had a 5-6 hour meeting with the entire Finance Committee lasting till 11 o'clock at night. And a lot of these things were discussed there, including the chiefs and every department head, both chiefs, every department head was there. And we went line by line through all of this, and a lot of suggestions going forward, like moving stuff if we need to come into finance, and public health and safety, reviewing any overtime budgets. These are all good things we weren't doing before, and I'm glad we're doing them now.
This Alderman Farnwell, I got a couple questions if I could.
Sure, go ahead, Alderman.
Thank you. First off, I think we all received an email tonight from the building department expressing concern about the amount of money budgeted for their salaries going forward. Have you seen that, Alderman Donahue?
Yeah, so thank you, Alderman. This actually got brought up in the Finance Committee meeting, and we had a discrepancy there of who's actually making what. And then right before the meeting, Dave Meyer sent me again the payroll for that department, and it still doesn't equal what Mr. Andino sent us.
Also, Alderman Bellato here, Bill, Alderman Farnwell. Howard reports to community development. He's technically over the building department. He was there, and we spent probably 45 minutes to an hour of that 5-6 hour meeting going over those numbers with Dave Meyer. And they're even higher than what we spent last year, what's in this budget. And Howard Kapari was at the meeting, and we explained everything through there, basing on what Dave was paying these former employees last year. And we actually increased it. So we think it's a huge discrepancy from what he thinks is going on and what Dave Myers told us is actually going on.
Okay. Well,
just to interject again, he was saying his employees were making a certain amount, but then when we looked at the year total, it was way off of what Howard had. So I don't know if he had wrong numbers or what, but there was a discrepancy then. And I saw Mr. Adino's email, and then when I double checked, everything I added up that Mr. Meyer sent equals what we have in here. There's no cuts. No one's losing their job. No one's taking a haircut or a pay cut in the building department.
Okay, thank you. That's Alderman Farnwell. I appreciate that, and I trust Dave Meyer and you folks to have worked on this. And I just note that there was this discrepancy noted, and I wanted to make sure we discussed it. So
sure, and Bill, I'd be happy to send you the document that Dave sent right before with everyone's year-end totals.
If you would.
Yeah, when we're done, I'll forward that on. But again, this was brought up at the Finance Committee meeting, and we went through kind of the same exercise, and we just didn't know where those other numbers are coming from.
And Alderman Bellato here again, every department head was there. And we went over every single line item. And like I said, it was a terribly long meeting. We all didn't eat beforehand. So it was a very most thorough meeting I ever spent with the budget. And I think going forward, if just like this virus situation, if we have to move money around later on, we're revisiting the chief situation in April, and we decided that at the finance meeting because at 5 hours, we just wanted to get out of there. And there's some things we want to continue discussing. So that's what we brought in there. If we need to move money around in some of these line items, we're going to have to do it.
And that's a good point, Alderman Bellato. I don't mean this to diminish anyone's efforts, because I know you've worked hard on this, but given what's going on, this document is probably not worth the paper it's printed on right now, just because we don't really know what's going to happen this year in the future, and we're going to have to be flexible. So I appreciate.
Alderman Bellato again, Alderman Farnwell, I agree. And that's kind of was even then, even at the meeting before this was coming out with issues we all inherited last year from former employees. We're going with a grain of salt for the entire budget. That's why it was very conservative. And I think it pretty much mimics last year, except a lot more conservative. And we all sat there and agreed, if we got to move stuff around, we know we're going to have to do it.
Okay, so there is one item that got my attention because it is so specific.
Sure.
If I look at the actual ordinance,
okay,
the 014 ordinance, last page of it, page 4, I guess, section 10, there's a specific line item that says all legal fees excepting those incurred directly relating to litigation claims against the city shall be paid from fund number 1, account 409, line 6640, which is on page 9 of the appropriation document.
Okay.
And that 6640 is legal fees. And I noted in an earlier document.
What page number was that again?
I'm sorry, that's page 9.
Page 9. All right, I got it.
So line 6640.
Sure.
And I noted in an earlier document that line had a number of $350,000, and now it's $150,000. And I'm just not sure what this language means about it being incurred directly, all legal fees.
Sure.
Those incurred directly related to litigation claims against the city shall be paid from this line. So could you explain to me the logic there and what's going on?
So one sec, I just let me scroll really quick. So we pay our legal fees out of kind of 2 separate accounts.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The general corporate account comes out of the page 9, 409, line 6640. And then the second one comes out of, it's going to be on page 20.
Right.
It's account number 480 titled risk management.
Yep. 72.
And it's line 7210.
Right.
Is the legal personal injury civil lawsuits. So we didn't touch that one. What the ordinance is claiming is that all legal fees that aren't corporate related, or all the legal fees that are corporate related, have to come out of the 6640 line, and anything that has to do with lawsuits, the civil rights claims, personal injury has to come out of the 7210.
So what was the basis? Because it's a big reduction actually overall in our anticipated legal fees, and I don't know. My concern, I guess, is maybe the legal fees will be smaller this year, and I could see some reasons why they might be, but then of course, maybe they'll be way, way bigger than last year because we don't know what the future holds. So what do we do if, we're looking at right now a total authorization for legal fees of like $560,000. What do we do when it's $1 million?
Sure. So I guess a couple of things. Great question, Alderman. First, that we didn't touch the risk management claim. So when we are dealing with like the civil rights lawsuits we get about like the police department or slip and fall, we didn't touch that legal fund. So that's all the same amount it was last year. What we did was the corporate legal fund is what we trimmed. And if we had to make cuts everywhere, and people need to be held responsible to their budgets. And that was where we thought we could be holding people accountable. And again, it doesn't stop if we get sued for whatever, a slip and fall, for a police brutality, for the different things we always get sued upon. We still have the money in that account. We also have money in that risk management. Again, I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling back. In the risk management, we did put some of our projected, I'm using the air quotes here, our projected savings that we were hoping to have into this, what we call our settlement payments. We did up that from our $200,000 from our appropriation in 2019. It was more last year because we did have the Harlow lawsuit and the Beth Ann Thomas, the payouts there. But again, we're not anticipating anything really crazy, but we could move those line items around with the full 2/3 vote of the city council.
Alderman Bellato here.
And
I'd
also,
like to say, I think we all know last year was a tough year considering legal bills all around. And we did trim all over this budget. And again, if we need to move stuff around, we'll move it around, like we just said. And we definitely, I think we all know on any side that there was a lot spent on legal bills last year because of stuff out of our control.
Right.
and let's not forget.
This is Kerry
Mark
Horvath.
Scott, Legislative Council. Let's not forget that there's still hundreds of thousands of dollars left in reserve for legal fees that involve litigation and such. So they're not taking a huge haircut on this.
If I may, this is Kerry Horvath. I just have a couple of questions because, first of all, Alderman Bellato, I was at the meeting where you went through the line items, and while you indicated that this cut was made from 350 to 150 for legal, I was not asked any questions about it, certainly, and I must have missed the discussion, but I was there. But regardless, my question is this, because there are at least 8, possibly 9 active workers' compensation cases and at least 10 active lawsuits. Will the line items that you've identified for, or that Alderman Donahue has identified for legal, personal injury, civil rights, will those line items be used for legal fees for the workers' compensation as well as the litigation that's pending with respect to personal injury, civil rights? We have a couple of cases involving the affordable recovery, and we have a case involving Blue Island Industrial, which they're not your traditional personal injury civil rights claims, but they are litigation, active litigation, and fees are being incurred. So I need to know if those line items are intended for that. And I think you can give me an answer, because they're in the past 5 years, these were in 2015, the fees were $723,613 for everything. In 2016, the fees were $721,250 for legal. In 2017, they were $636,149. In 2018, per your ordinance, it indicates they were $959,000. Now, the bulk of those fees in those 4 years were attributable to the litigation involving Thomas and Harlow. I understand that. In 2019 was the first year they fell below $400,000. They were $399,000. That was 2019. That's your actual per your ordinance. That number.
Mark,
please just listen to me for just a minute. Mark, please.
Yeah.
The 399,000 was attorney's fees for litigation, corporate negotiations with the unions, and that number was in addition to this 410 that you put in. That 410 was there last year and it was there this year. So I need to know in advance how we are supposed to bill, because I don't want to get caught with you all saying at some point in time, well, you exceeded your budget. We're going to have a 2/3 vote to move some money somewhere. I'd like to know if right now how we're supposed to go about doing that, because there's very little appropriated for workers' comp.
Alderman
There's a
Bellato.
lot appropriated.
Alderman Bellato here. Carrie, Attorney Horvath, unless
Yes.
I'm mistaken, and you're informing us some more information, anything involving you, that the city is a defendant, I would think would come out of risk management.
Let me, Mark Scarlett.
I want to know that. Mark, can you please let me ask the question, and then
you had your chance to speak. You had your chance to speak. Let me speak now, okay?
Mark, if I may, I just want to make sure that that is the case.
No, I'm going to explain. If you give me an opportunity, I'm going to explain.
I'm listening to you now, Mark, okay?
Okay. The legal service fees in the general account were always for corporate work. They did not include your litigation. They didn't include your workers' comp. You had $350,000 in that account solely for corporate work. All right, that has been reduced. However, your litigation work, your other work, still has significant funds available. So in terms of billing, you just have to cut your corporate work, which was at $350,000.
Well, my question is this, or actually my point is this, is that there was no inquiry to myself as to how much of what had been actually billed last year, all right, was for corporate, how much was for litigation, how much was for workers' compensation. So there was no input requested or allowed. And that's why I'm looking at this now, because
but
I don't want to have to go through this regularly, Mark.
But you're not correct. You're not correct.
And guys, hold on, and Mark and Carrie, hold on. It's Alderman Donahue. I think, again, we have the money. I think Mark laid it out well. The money there's for the legal work, the corporate attorney work. Then there's the money for the risk management work, which is the workman's comp, the settlements. And we also have the other money. Again, if we have to move the money around somewhere, we'll have to do it. But I think right now we had to move money. Our residents want us to prioritize streets. They don't want us to have ridiculous high corporate legal bills. And that's what we're prioritizing. And that's what this budget prioritizes. And again, if we have to move to cover money, and Carrie, please, I didn't interrupt you. If we have to move the money to cover a workman's comp case, a lawsuit, a personal injury settlement, we have the money to move those resources around to cover that.
Alderman Bellato.
Kevin, I appreciate your explanation, Kevin, or Alderman Donahue and Alderman Bellato. What I'm saying is that could have probably been a little bit more defined if inquiry had been made of me at the time when you were going through the appropriation to provide you a more accurate breakdown. But I'll accept your explanation.
You had the opportunity to speak at the public meeting. Every other department head was there. They all spoke. They defended defended or made their arguments for why they needed money or didn't need money. You were there. You could have done it. You had
Alderman Bellato here. I think you've made your point to both attorneys. And I'd like to say, if it involves, I agree with Alderman Donahue, if it involves defending the city, it would come out of risk management. Is that the clarification you wanted, Attorney Horvath?
That's one clarification. The other point I'm making is when I'm being told I had my opportunity to speak, the copy of the ordinance I had in my hand the night of March I believe it was the 9th, had a line item of $350,000. There was no reason for me to speak beyond about that because I deemed that to be more than sufficient. I was not asked any questions. I do not know when the cut was made, but it was not made at the point in time we went through general government. That being said, I accept your explanation. I understand it now. I understand it much better than when the conversation started and when I saw the actual appropriation ordinance that you are submitting. So thank you all very much for taking the time to hear me out on that.
This Alderman Farnwell, if I could just really quickly finish my points. I don't have too much left to say here.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. Number one, I got to say, based on this conversation, my observation is once again, we really don't need two law firms, and this little waste of time here is a good example of why. Secondly, I'm glad that we are putting more money into streets, $550-some thousand. By my math, we have a $30 million backlog. That would translate into something like 54 years to do our streets at that amount of money. And I would just urge all of you folks who were sponsored or involved with the Restore Blue Island Party who promised us that you had a plan to fix all the streets. I don't think this is it. I hope it's not. We're still waiting.
Alderman Bellato here. Just so you know, Alderman Farnwell, this is out of the general fund. We still spend upwards of $700,000 to $1 million out of just MFT and TIF funds for road repairs every single year, which is going to double with the increases we haven't even received yet, including the gas tax. We haven't collected a penny of that yet. And the new MFT formula, which we haven't collected yet either. So I think this is going well towards multiple streets being done every single year, which is better than it was done. And I think we'd all agree in previous years.
Better than it was, but we got a long way to go.
I think no one's going to disagree with you, Alderman.
Yeah.
And we let $5 million slip through our hands.
Well, the other item I'd like to say about this appropriation is that this is going to be a tough year. I think we all know that. And I know we're all going to work really hard to, stretch all our dollars. But if we had $2 million more in the bank right now, which we could have had we agreed to the deal that Metro South offered us with no strings attached, it would make this year a whole lot easier to get through. And I am still incredibly disappointed that we passed up that money.
Alderman Farnwell, just to say, it has nothing to do with this discussion. And I know you're allowed to say it, and I'm going to say my piece because I could have said it before too. That deal that we keep referencing expired the minute the Illinois State Board rejected the offer to close. After that, there was never a written deal ever given to us, nor was anything ever given to us in writing. That was only pending a September closure by the State Board of Health, which never happened.
That's not how I read it.
That's the only writing that was ever given to me as an alderman. And I think this has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight.
Alderman Farnwell, was there anything else?
No, that's all. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Randy, I moved the previous question.
I second it.
I have Alderman Hawley has a question.
I already moved the motion.
I second it.
I moved the question.
So where are we taking on the vote?
Yeah.
I won't vote in favor of this if you don't let Alderman Hawley speak.
I just have one question. That I believe the CalSAG Trail is supposed to be finished this year, and there's nothing in the budget. Is that somewhere else, or am I not seeing it?
I didn't hear what he said.
Tom, can you repeat it? It was really gargled there.
Yeah, I can't hear.
Okay, sorry. I said the CalSAG Trail was supposed to be finished this year, I believe, and there's nothing in this appropriation for that, or unless I'm missing it and it's somewhere else.
Oh, Alderman Bellato here. I'd like to ask Eric Alvarez just to address this. We did ask about this, and we were told we're done. We just made that huge transfer in the last fiscal year. Is that correct?
Okay, so the CalSAG Trail will be completing another phase of construction this summer. I do believe that's addressed somewhere in this appropriations, and I can, if y'all want to give me a second, I can have a look through and see if I can find it.
Well, last year it was in marketing department, and I didn't see it anywhere else. Maybe it is somewhere else.
Okay, I'm gonna have a look through and see if I can find it. I remember talking with Mark Miller about this during the appropriations, and I believe Dave Meyer too. So I can have a quick look and get back to
Not
you.
to cut you off, Eric, but when we talked to Dave about it, he said our obligations for payments were done and we were able to zero this out.
Was that pass-through grant somewhere?
We still have $300,000 in grant money to deal from the National Fish and Wildlife Fund to deal with the construction of the Blue Island West segment of the CalSag Trail. It's not as big as the east segment because most of it's on street. But
Right.
no, there's still construction
All right,
to be
Alderman
done.
Bellato here. I think it's then passed through. We can amend it later then once we find out where it's at, if it's just passed through.
It's pass-through grant, absolutely, so.
Yeah. I remember we had substantial talking about this, but now we're gonna have to go through all these pages. But if it's just passed through, it doesn't change the bottom line.
Well, good catch, Alderman Holly, because I thought our understanding at the Finance Committee meeting was that we were done with this. So thank you.
And just to clarify, Alderman Bellato here, pass through meaning the money's coming in, the exact same money coming out. So it doesn't affect the bottom line. It won't affect anything in this budget other than just adding it in.
Yeah, but we still would have to appropriate it at some point in time.
If it's not in here, we'd have to make an adjustment at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Alderman Alexander. Alderman Donahue, what was the $490,000 payment, $90,000 payment we just did for the West, for the CalSag Trail?
That was, so the way that works is we got all this money and we were kind of holding it for communities down the trail. And we just paid it was to what, the Dalton Park District was their portion?
That's right. Dalton's the lead agency in the second phase of the CalSag Trail. And I believe, I think I found it too, by the way, and then I'll cut out here. I believe it's in the Public Works Department under grants pass-through expenditure. Oh, no, sorry. Nope, got the wrong one. Okay, I'll keep it. Sorry.
All right, well, again, that was, we were under, when we met, we were under the understanding that we were done. So we'll make sure we get that added back.
Alderman Bellato here. I don't think anybody on this whole council wants to lose out on that. We'll have to make that change.
No.
Just for the record, if this is Carrie again, who was speaking to that issue? I know the aldermen identified themselves, but there was another individual. Was that Eric Alvarez?
Sorry, that was Eric Alvarez speaking in regards to the CalSag Trail phase of construction and grant funding.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, I move the previous question.
So there was a motion by Donahue and a second by Bellato at the beginning.
Oh, roll call.
Rita.
Aye.
Rita, aye. Donahue.
Aye.
Donahue, aye. Holly.
Aye.
Holly, aye. Farnwell.
Aye.
Farnwell, aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hill, aye. Mack. Mack, aye. Carr.
Aye.
Carr, aye. Cantelo-Zylman.
Aye.
Cantelo-Zylman, aye. Clinker.
Aye.
Clinker, aye. Johnson.
No.
Johnson, no. Alexander.
Aye.
Alexander, aye. Bellato.
Aye.
Bellato, aye. Costas.
Aye.
Costas, aye. 12 ayes and 1 no, Your Honor.
Thank you. We move on to number 6. Any aldermanic announcements or comments?
Alderman Donahue, just wanted to thank the city treasurer, Dave Myers, the finance committee, the department heads. Again, it was a 5-hour-long meeting. Thank you for putting in the time. It was a lot of work to get us to where we were at. So I appreciate everyone's vote and support on the appropriation and looking forward to the hard decisions we'll have this year with the crazy times we have ahead of us. So thank you to everybody I mentioned, and thank you to the members of City Council. Thanks. Thank you, Mayor.
This is Alderman Nancy
Hi,
Reed. Also, I'd like to say thank you to the Finance Committee and all that were involved. There are cuts in this appropriation, but we need to focus on our priorities, which are public safety and our roads, our streets. So thank you. I also would like to commend our first responders, the police and fire. Thank you, and thank you to your families, and I appreciate the sacrifice you're making. Thank you, Chief Rita and Chief. And lastly, I would like to say thank you to Officer Clinker for disseminating the information to us, and especially before we read it on social media. But thank you for that. So thank you, everybody.
Hi, this is Alderman Hill. I would just like to say that for everyone that this is something very serious that we're going through at this moment, and then the best interest is for the citizens and the constituents of Blue Island. So at this time, I would like to say thank you guys for us making the correct decision for the constituents.
Alderman Bellato here. I just want to say, everybody stay safe, practice social distancing, support our local takeouts. I've spent way too much in this past week, even though I've been self-contained here by just buying gift cards for a lot of the businesses. I know Clerk Hauser has done a lot of the same here. I'm sure many have done that also, and let's continue because they're hurting right now. They're hurting.
Alderman Clinker here. I have one comment and one question. Mr. Mayor, can you make sure that the new finance director gets us monthly revenue and expense reports? I asked for that starting back in May when I started, and I never got them from Mr. Marzell, and that's part of the reason why we're at where we're at.
No problem. I'll make sure she does it.
That's my one comment. Thank you. Yeah, and the second question is, you said the other night that you had a timeline of events on what happened the other night.
I'm getting that from the personnel, and I'll get it out to you as soon as I get it typed up.
Okay.
Thank
No
you.
idea when it's coming then?
They're supposed to drop it off tomorrow, send it to me by email, and then I'll review it and then send it to you directly.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Any other comments? If not, I need a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion, Alderman Rita.
Second.
Alderman Hill, second.
And then again, just everybody agreed? Anybody does not agree? Thank you, everyone. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.